Welcome back to Top 10 Tunes. Today we're looking at the top 10 progressive rock songs you've never heard. Coming in at number 10 is Butterflies and Hurricanes by Muse. By the release of 2003's Absolution, Muse had for the most part shaken off the Radiohead comparisons and have forged a much more grandiose and theatrical persona for themselves. Mainstream success would also follow suit, but this disguises the progressive rock musicianship at play. Butterflies and Hurricanes incorporates an unrelenting electronic pulse and explosive chorus, but the moment that can't be ignored is the piano excerpt in the bridge. Referencing classical piano concerto music, a stark dichotomy between the bridge and the rest of the song is created. Butterflies and Hurricanes earns its name thusly and sadly gets unrecognized by progressive rock enthusiasts due to its placement within Muse's large and varied catalog. At number 9 is Dancing Madly Backwards on a Sea of Air by Captain Beyond. This band as a whole often flies under the radar for both progressive and heavy metal fans alike, but was pioneering and exemplified many stylistic traits of both genres moving forward. Heavily riff-oriented, there are many key and tempo changes expanding the tone of psychedelic rock into how it would develop in the 1970s. However, the progressive aspect of Dancing Madly Backwards is far more subtle. The driving aspect of the song was characteristic of the space rock sound, but the song also seamlessly transitions into the next song on the album. While not a concept album at heart, this song exemplifies how progressive aspects have begun to seep into and influence surrounding rock music genres. Number 8 is Motion Picture Soundtrack by Radiohead. After the release of OK Computer in the 1990s, Radiohead was poised to be the new Pink Floyd in bringing progressive rock into the mainstream. In response to this, however, Radiohead headed into the avant-garde, and their progressive tendencies were able to flourish and influence how the genre could develop in a new millennium. Even the most seasoned progressive music fan can be forgiven for overlooking the final track, as the album Kid A is quite dense and unforgiving, but Motion Picture Soundtrack offers something unique in of itself. A simple drone and unaffected lead vocal lasts for over 3 minutes, and processed effects then come in to build up the atmosphere. Even within Radiohead's catalog, Motion Picture Soundtrack is unique in simplicity and demanding in the adventure it concludes. Coming in at number 7 is Calling Occupants of Interplanetary Craft by Klaatu. A grand psychedelic pop production, this song and group as a whole were often mistaken for an incognito Beatles performing under a pseudonym. This tabloid rumor would hinder the group's career entirely and keep Klaatu from being considered an A-class progressive rock band. This, however, discredits the sound and production created, and Calling Occupants could be seen as a radio hit if it had been released under a less controversial lighting. In fact, it was re-recorded by the Carpenters, who would popularize the song in a soft rock context. Ultimately, Klaatu's recording easily could have attained crossover success, and to this day feels like a release out of time. At number 6 is Ballet for a Girl in Buchanan by Chicago. While many can say that they've heard the singles Make Me Smile and Color My World from the self-titled Chicago album, it isn't often that the entire song cycle Ballet for the Girl in Buchanan is brought up, and certainly the mainstream success of this jazz rock band further buried the artistic complexity of this composition. Each part exists with its own melodies, unique arrangements, and of course tempos and rhythms. The most glaring aspect of this 12-minute song is that it's titled as being a ballet, yet we're left to imagine dancing. The brass section provided much needed cues and accents, and the variety of time signatures and rhythmic groupings aid in this imaginary ballet, but it's also understandable as to why the song is broken up for radio airplay. Ultimately, this would be Chicago's most progressive song, but it's a composition unique within the world of long songs. Rounding out number 5 is Horts voor den Stukken West by Magma. Having trouble pronouncing the title? Me too. I'm not even sure I got it right. It's a constructed language, or a conlang, created by bandleader Christian Vander called Kobian, and is an amalgamation of Slavic and German languages. Heavily influenced by composer Karl Orff, the lyrical content worked phonetically like a percussion instrument to emphasize the repetitive instrumentation. The urgency of the music tells the story of Earth's degradation as we seek another habitable planet, and the conlang of Kobian and the orchestrated music help to deliver this futuristic landscape. The song exemplifies the sound of Magma as a group and how they single-handedly developed the progressive rock subgenre of Zool. At number 4 is Winter Solstice by the Tea Party. By the 90s, progressive rock has built its own structure and norms, but the Tea Party sought to expand what could be done through seeking interesting instrumentation and expanding the use of one's progressive rock signature instruments, the 12-string acoustic guitar. This instrumental showcased the Tea Party's use of the 12-string in less of a picked playing context and more of a droning strummed style. This was done using an open tuning so the melody could play off the key. Combined with the tabular progression, the Tea Party were unique in their combination of Eastern influences in Western hard rock context. This was similar in fashion to what Led Zeppelin had done decades earlier on the song Kashmir. While the Tea Party would receive song mainstream radio airplay, Winter Solstice holds up what makes them unique as a band and the progressive ethos of expanding one's musical palette. Coming in at number 3 is Flamingo by Anthony Phillips. This track is a fringe recording even within the realm of avid prog rock listeners. Collected within the Private Parts and Pieces series of records, various instrumental works are presented, all outside of the pretext of being released for radio airplay, or even for that matter, live performance. While grand electric productions and even piano pieces are performed, Flamingo is a virtuistic performance on Anthony Phillips' signature instrument, the 12-string. While this instrument has found fame in many different contexts, Anthony Phillips was an early practitioner, and Flamingo puts many techniques on full display. Arpeggiated sequences, natural harmonics, pedal points, and of course dramatic strumming, all showcasing the dynamic chime of the instrument. Flamingo is a hard find, but wonderful listen. At number 2 is 10538 Overture by Electric Light Orchestra. Before Jeff Lynne penned some of the most successful Beatle-esque recordings of the 70s, ELO was hemmed by both Lynne and psychedelic and glam rock pioneer Roy Wood. On their self-titled debut, and notably on the single 10538 Overture, Wood emphasized the use of string ensemble instruments, specifically the cello, in a rock context. This symphonic rock would define the group's early sound and would portray the lyrical content of the song in a far more theatrical context. While not the most ambitious prog rock song, it nonetheless is overlooked in what ELO would later develop as their signature sound, and how their string ensemble elements sound here more classical than disco reveals more of how Jeff Lynne-led ELO would conceptualize some of their greatest songs. And coming in at number 1 is Images Chapter 1 by Saga. Alright, follow us closely on this one. A story about the mind, career, and preservation of Albert Einstein's brain. This story is told over multiple songs across multiple albums within Saga's career, and the first chapter appears on their second album, Images at Twilight. After the listener has already heard chapters 3, 4, and 6, the concept of this song cycle transcends the musical story itself, but rather peaks in ambition due to its meta nature and dependence on the listener catching these songs as they appear. For Images Chapter 1 to appear later feels as if we've traveled in time to hear about Einstein's mind at work, knowing well the future that is to come. This song and song cycle also exist in contrast to the prog light music of the rest of their career, as Saga would have success as a 1980s radio rock band. You can be forgiven for not hearing Images Chapter 1, but if you're a prog rock fan, you should listen when you catch it. Thank you so much for watching Top 10 Tunes. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.